And we're live, everyone. Welcome. This is HEX Foodies, a group on Telegram. You can also find us on Facebook. We were just in the back scenes right now talking about what it is that we're going to be doing this stream. We're bringing to the table examples of sustainability. It doesn't matter where in the world they are. Something that I loved about what Hex Dragon brought to the table last stream was we're trying to make it to where Hexicans don't go broke in the future, right, Hex Dragon? Like we're not making mistakes. Instead, we're going about seeking sustainability appropriately, giving everybody the tools. So welcome everyone. I'm right now. This is my. This is our fourth live stream, I believe, and I'd like to brag a little bit. The first live stream I was in Utah. The second live stream I was in DC. The third live stream I was in Georgetown, my hometown, north of Hex Dragon there, and the fourth live stream now I'm in Miami. So I feel like I've been spread out across the nation, and I'm ready to mingle with all the Hexicans, and let's grow this Hex Foodies group. Welcome everyone, and let's see, Max, I'm about to Hex Rate Vision. I'm about to add you. Welcome.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Hex Ray.
So it's still morning over there in Utah.
It's always morning when I have to get up for something.
So would anybody like to start?
Yeah, I'd like to kind of expand on where we left off last week, which is a mindset that I think is really important for us. Is Hex is able to create a currency abundance, but all currencies aren't backed by anything. There's no resource backing it. So when you cash out your Hex, somebody else is buying that from you. That's how it works, and they make resources available. So one interesting exercise I like to share with people is what kind of abundance can we all live in, as opposed to and how that is different from how we live right now. And an example I like to give is basically, when you think about the quality of products, is the amount of resources that go into many products is actually the same. We have all these different types of cars, full price range, but the amount of actual resources that go into each of those cars is comparable. We choose to make low quality products as a society so that they break and to keep the economy going, which is really bad for the natural economy. So one thing I want to bring awareness to is this idea of consumerism and what we spend our money on. And for example, the clothes I'm wearing, I'm very much like Richard in some ways, in that these shirts I have are all from about 2013. They're all collector items, and they are very durable. So I haven't bought a new shirt in about 8 years because these go up in value. This shirt's probably worth over $500 now, and I wear it regularly. But that's about quality. Is if I had shopped at Walmart or something else, these clothes would have fallen apart by now, and I would have spent way more than I initially did on those clothes. So I think it's important to enter an abundance mindset in how we start creating and what we choose to consume, and thinking in terms of long-term consumption. Because when you give up your Hex, you're losing the ability to keep generating more wealth for yourself and giving that to somebody else. So you want to make these long-term decisions. Well, our planet is great at producing resources. However, we've been in this planned obsolescence mindset, even with our farms. We'll farm, produce a bunch of food for a little while, and expel all the resources, so it becomes a desert. It no longer produces resources. It loses its value. It becomes trash. We're literally trashing our planet for short-term gains, short-term profits, at the expense of an abundance that we could all have. Regeneration is about creating continuous abundance. The carbon in the air is fine if we have the trees to bring it back down to build new woody materials that we can use for building new houses and stuff. But we're not doing that. We're making we're making true scarcity by the lifestyle and how we're living. So what I hope we bring to the HEX community is an abundance mindset and this realization that we can use our wealth to generate more wealth. So instead of consuming stuff that's going to break down and continue with the consumer paradigm, we enter a regenerative paradigm where we acquire land that's not the best land money can buy, but actually the worst land that money can buy, that we can then invest in, start to regenerate and have it accrue in value. So the investments I make, I want to become more and more valuable over time. So buying really inexpensive desertified land and then regenerating it will greatly increase its value. And that's an investment. So in the future, and we've already seen this with different pandemics and stuff, we burn through our resources. When our systems collapse, we realize it doesn't matter how much money we have, we can't get food because there's no food available. Same with wood. You cut down all the forests, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you can't get wood anymore. Same with burning through all our oil. Like, we're, as a society, collectively really, really stupid. And we need to change how we consume, how we buy. And then entering, this mindset of how we can create abundance for ourselves and others. And if we do that, that will also help create peace because we fight over resources. But it's pretty stupid because resources can be abundant and it's not that hard to do that. So I would argue that we actually have the most important stream out of all the streams I talk about, anything relating to crypto or the future, because it is relevant to our future. If we don't start regenerating the planet, it doesn't matter how big or how full your bank account is, there's nothing you can buy that's going to be worth anything to make your life better.
Wow. In the future, or here soon, I want to take that clip and just put it by itself.
Thank you. So to segue us into our topic, each of us has brought a few examples of people or communities that are producing their own local abundance. That if the dollar crashes, if HEX crashes, if any of those things actually go to zero, they aren't affected because they are living in actual material, actual natural abundance. And so I feel complete.
I was doing a little bit of YouTube searching for research to figure out like who else is saying that they're sustainable and what are they doing with themselves. And I actually searched expats sustainability and some guys down in St. Croix Island. This certain guy, his advice for people relocating to a piece of property is think of it as you're not living on the property, you're living in the land, you're living in the property. So you're living amongst it, not just like, oh, I'm going to claim this and hold it as my own and have this possessive relationship in your mind with it. Instead, you're introducing yourself to it and becoming a part of the system, part of the whole. And then that is your ecosystem, that is your sustainability sphere, and the things outside of it aren't affecting you.
I think that that reminds me of some indigenous cultures when you ask them, who are you? And they understand their connection to nature. They're their food sources, they're the river, they're the trees that produce the air. They recognize that they are all the life that keeps them, because without any of those things, they don't exist. So if you do the exercise, if you get rid of everything that you need or everything in your life, like what will actually affect you? What are you dependent on? That's a part of you. And people are really disconnected because city life, you're totally disconnected, and everything that you're dependent on is so far away, so far removed that we can't grasp what that is. And we need to, because that's a part of who we are. And that's why we need to be stewards of the land, not owners of the land.
Yeah, I haven't made much money in my life prior to being involved in HEX. And so I've just gone from thinking of everything minimally, and then now having just this river that if I want to turn it on, I can, load up. And it's really just shifted my mind, my thinking. But I wouldn't, of course, change my life any other way, because I needed to witness and learn the things that I've learned in my life. But yeah, like seeing how you can have like just everything at your fingertips in a concrete jungle. Yeah, so that's that thought. I think Finbear is going to join us. Hexray Vision, you wanna say something? You weren't able to make it last live stream.
Yeah, I really enjoyed listening to the last live stream. I was actually looking for a link that we can share to bring on anyone from Twitter, bring on the other Hexicans to join the conversation in the comments or with us on stream.
So I'm gonna share with you. I think it's the same link as what we put inside the Telegram group. But over here in the private chat in the green room, I just placed a link there.
Okay, let me check Telegram, because like I said, if we're going live, let's reach out to
we
all
are
the other
live.
Hexicans.
We are live right now.
Yeah, so
we're 11 and a half minutes into it. What's going on, Empty Plane?
Not much. Hey, Hex Dragon, I am interested in those clothes. I've always liked this. I've always had this idea of the 100-year store, when it creates items that will last for at least 100 years, and your clothes kind of fall down. I don't know if they'll last for 100 years, but you know what I mean. It's headed in that direction. If you could do something in the chat and send a chat out, I'm interested in that, because like Davin said, he used to live minimally. And so when I first saw a wage posted on a wall of where I worked, me and a friend, we were very impressed with this wage. And the adults around us laughed, and they said, "That's nothing." And we said, "Well, what do you mean that's nothing? That's like an extraordinary amount compared to what we're making now." And they said, "No, but your cost of living will go up." And so it's kind of interesting. I made a promise to myself then, no, my cost of living isn't going to go up. I'm going to promise myself that. And it actually is possible. And suddenly your disposable income blows up when that happens. And it's nice. It's really nice. So, but yeah, if you send me a link to those clothes, that'd be awesome. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll pitch it real quick, or shill it, I guess. It's a company called Ink and Burn. They are primarily runner's clothes or athletic clothing. So they are, yeah, like it's one of my shirts. But
very cool. Thank you.
What's interesting with them is I remember they're subscription based. So they make a line of clothes. Or they don't make a line of clothes. They will make a run of clothes and send it to all their subscribers, and you don't know what you're getting. So you get shirts. If you don't like it, you just auction on eBay. So that's what happens. It's like people get shirts they don't really care for or whatever, and then they sell them again, and they don't make more.
That's cool. Thanks.
So the idea of this live stream was to bring examples of sustainability. I don't know people who are living 90% or 95% off of what they create. Like it's very sparse. There's a lot of field trips that I'd like to do around Texas, because there's a lot of people who are attacking this stuff, and it is all caused because of economics, how we all live amongst each other. But Empty Plane and I know each other from Wheaton Labs up in Montana, and Paul Wheaton is the owner of that property, thus the name. And something that he's been doing is focusing on wood heat. And what's really interesting about that is the idea or the narrative is that you can walk through the woods, collect all the wood that's there on the surface of the ground. You don't even have to cut it from living. I'm being distracted. I'm sorry. From living trees, and you bring it to your home and use it to heat your entire place for a winter. This can be done with a technology called rocket mass heaters. It's where you have a clay or cob bench that stores the heat from your efficient wood fire, because the exhaust is run through the bench and it's stored in there, the heat is, and over time then it gives off that heat. And then another example of how they're using wood fire is, and I've actually made some plans for these wood-fired ovens, where the efficient wood heat goes to a drum and it wraps around this barrel, and so you've got your white heat or white smoke, or you've got your clean stuff on the inside, and then your black stuff on the outside, and then it vacates the system. But wood fire your oven, which is really, really awesome in my opinion. Another thing that I've been a part of, Empty Plane, I can hear you whenever you're moving around.
Sorry about that.
Cool. Another thing that I've been involved in is solar dehydrators. And so you're collecting the heat from the sun, running it through a dehydration cabinet, and then it's venting out as well. But I just wanted to add those things.
Can I add another technology that's one of my favorites?
Please do.
So there's solar air heaters out there. They're passive. They don't use fans. And it's important to me that they don't use fans, not because I'm afraid of electricity and I don't want to generate electricity, but rather because if I don't have electricity, it still warms my space. So in addition to the rocket mass heater, which I think is an awesome device, and it does what it says, I've experienced it, I've measured it, and made sure that it actually does what it says it does. A solar air heater, when done properly, can heat a 10 by 12 by 12 cubic space in about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the delta T, meaning how cold it is outside, to 66 to 70 degrees on the inside. So basically what these devices do is they're simply a box that's about a square meter. And so the cold air comes right off of the very bottom of the floor, drops down into the very bottom of that box, which is on the outside of your house. And then the top end of that box on the opposite side of the input comes out hot, and it enters the space that you're interested in heating again. And so that comes off about 3 feet off the ground. And when it's configured like this, it ends up warming the room very thoroughly and makes all the temperature in the room the same temperatures. So it happens, I use this in Portland, Oregon area. And so it works with semi-cloudy conditions. It doesn't work that well when it's absolutely dark and raining really heavy. It probably puts out an 8-degree difference according to my measurements. I'd have to reproduce those one more time in those conditions. But any other time, including semi-overcast, they still work. And so that keeps me from having to feed my rocket stove as much, which already is a reduction of wood that's unbelievable if you've ever used a wood stove. It's, when you hear people say, well, you can just collect the wood off the trees or off the ground, it's like, that's not realistic. Well, it is realistic, and there's proof of it on Wheaton Labs in the Fisher-Price house. That rocket stove there is, I ran that in the coldest part of the winter, in the coldest parts of the winter, and I took the temperatures before and after. It does in fact function. For 24 hours. It will take the temperature from about 60, 61, 60 degrees, and then I'll run it for 45 minutes to an hour, which is two bundles of sticks, and that will then heat a Montana in the mountains home for 24 hours till the next time I run only 2 bundles of sticks. So solar air heater, I'm going to pump it up, and there's very specific types that work better than others. And what I'm doing now is I'm working on the geometry of the one that works the best that I have discovered along my way. So, but yeah, rocket stoves, solar air heaters, they work. Don't put the solar air heaters on your roof. You'll have to use a fan. Why use a fan when you get it for free?
I'd also add really quickly to technology, Stirling engines. They're Stirling fans that should go on your heat source and then blow the heat out. So you use heat as your energy source. They work with or without sunlight. Just need heat. I think we should define kind of sustainability also. And what I propose is I want to start with what one person can do and kind of expand it out, and then transition. I know Empty has some excellent shares for communities that are sustainable. So I think like transitioning the mindset from like individual to a collective would be an appropriate way to navigate this conversation. So for mindset, when we think about sustainability, the first thing that comes to mind is, where's our food going to come from? How are we going to produce our food? And how do we get all the nutrients we need? So that has a conversation around diet. The hardest diet, ironically, to do regeneratively is a vegan diet, because it requires so many different types of foods. It's actually very challenging, and they in vegan diets typically have a very large carbon footprint, because they come from foods come from all over the world, and a lot of it's processed. Now, I know a vegan would say, well, actually, a meat diet is the worst because of cows and methane and everything. Well, that can be true if it's done in a conventional manner, but that conventional manner is not sustainable. But if it's done in a regenerative manner, cows eat grass. Humans don't eat grass. And they're a part of a closed system. Their gas and everything else actually go into the ground. They help sequester carbon into the ground. They help build soil. So beef, for example, is a way to sequester a lot of carbon into the ground. And the carnivore diet is a very healthy diet. It's one of the only diets that actually all humans can do without having an inflammation response. That's why if you're doing an inflammation, or rather an elimination diet, you start as keto or a carnivore diet, because you're going to allow your body to fully heal before you start implementing grains, nuts, fruits, legumes, or other vegetables. All of those things can cause inflammation in people. So actually, an animal-based diet done regeneratively, which is basically where you're removing the animals around, and they're taken care of. And also, you want to have happy animals, because an unhappy animal, unhealthy animal will actually help make you sick. So the people who I know who are on carnivore diets have the best connection to where their food comes from, because they really understand the difference between good quality meat and bad and unethically raised or produced meat. So the simplest thing is a carnivore diet. Now you go to something a little bit more complex, which is the Mark Shepard diet. So I'm going to reference him a lot. And choose him. I've read dozens and dozens of books on restoration agriculture, but he does the best job bringing it all together in an easy to understand manner. So his farm is called New Forest Farms in Wisconsin. And he made a prototype of a 100-acre farm that produces everything he needs, and he and his wife manage it. Now, when I say everything, I mean mushrooms, fruits from trees, berries and stuff from bushes. It's mostly permaculture, animals from grazing, nuts from trees as well. And then they have like perennial vegetables like asparagus. They have honey, they have syrup, but also they produce all of their own fuel. They have 6 acres that they use for producing like a sunflower oil. and they sell that to a potato chip factory that uses it, and they buy it back and use it as biofuel. And they cut their own wood for heating. So they are a couple, a married family that produces a very diverse diet, all perennial. So understanding that we can do that in a way with perennial systems to produce everything you need. And it's important to have this idea of where you're having some meat in your diet, at least for starting. If you want to go vegan, that's fine. Absolutely fine. But animals are an essential part of a regenerative system. They play vital roles in managing it. Without animals, you have to use tractors and other things. So it becomes actually a lot more expensive and complicated and harder to do. So starting with animals gives you that baseline for your food, where your food comes from. And then perennials produce your wood, where your heat comes from, and you have fuel sources. And also all those things help to purify water naturally in your landscape. By restoring the soil, you're gonna have natural water sources, the springs will return. You now have fresh water. You have everything you need to be a healthy, thriving human. So one other farm I'll mention that I want to pass the mic is Brown's Ranch. So you can do something small or smaller, like what Mark Shepard does, but Gabe Brown does the same thing, but very large scale. He's about 5,000 acres, and they are in, where are they? North Dakota, Bismarck, and they focus on animals, and they actually do a lot of annual crops. And then after they harvest, they have the animals go through and graze everything down. So instead of tilling with tractors, they use the animals again to do that. And it's run by him and his son. 5,000 acres, fully diverse diet. They produce everything they need also. And they make a crazy amount of money because they sell directly to consumers, and they process their own meat and everything. So they do really well also. And I like both of these guys a lot because they're very scientific. They've done side-by-side studies. So Mark Shepard, they wanted to create a community actually, but they ended up having disagreements about how they're going to manage the community. So they bought a bunch of land, but then they did their own thing because they disagreed. One of the farms next to them is a vegan farm, and his farm is just way outperforming it, and it looks way better. Gabe Brown was a conventional farmer, and he switched to regenerative, and his story for how he got there is amazing. But you have side-by-side studies of land that was the same, and how different techniques have created vastly superior everything. So Gabe Brown, both these farms you can go to, you can visit. They give tours, lectures. They offer their services, really great places for starting, for having that regenerative foundation that I like to talk about. You build a regenerative foundation, you then have something that you can build a community on. And now you can start bringing in more people, and you can add on other interesting technologies. Now that you have an abundance of wood, you can start making other products. All these things can be processed and sold and created into new things, and you can get more complex. But to reiterate, it doesn't have to be that hard to become sustainable. We have made things really complicated because oftentimes we try and maintain our exact lifestyle and be like, well, how am I going to make a Snickers candy bar sustainably? It's like, that's kind of absurd. It's just a lot of work to do that. So go back to kind of the basics, the simple thing, and then start adding back in. And I think Empty has some really good shares for communities and how they are able to take resources and start building up. So I'm gonna pass the mic. Thank you.
Really quick, I wanted to say perennial means year after year after year after year. Annual means you're planting the seed, you're harvesting the crop. Then the next year comes around, you're planting the seed, you're harvesting the crop.
Yeah, so to elaborate a little bit on that, yes, what you said is correct. Also, that's why a lot of farmers till the soil, is annual seeds tend to germinate better in disturbed soil. They're kind of like weeds, except we eat these ones, but they do well in really disturbed soil. So perennials are like your trees or vegetables that you plant them once and they'll grow for dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of years without having to be maintained. And they're better because they develop massive root systems, and they actually have mycelium networks and stuff. So you don't have to fertilize, you don't have to water them. They create these beneficial relationships with each other. So it's an automated natural system. as opposed to annuals, which require a ton of human input, a ton of labor, a ton of other inputs. And you can even argue that a lot of the annuals aren't that actually healthy or natural for humans.
Wow, this is such rich content. Thank you, Dragon. Go for it, Empty. Let's hear your examples of sustainable communities, maybe, or what you have rhetoric for what we just said. Please.
I don't. There's only a couple of things I might disagree with Hex Dragon, and they're not significant enough for it to make a difference. The vegan statement is true if you try to go vegan immediately on the land. You're going to have a lot of well-developed, already grown nursery trees that provide that are going to be ready to grow. For instance, one of the things that come from trees that I wanted to add, you can get beans off of trees, legumes. So that's, and once you realize you can actually get beans off of trees, actual trees, then now we're not talking about fruits and nuts, because most people just think of fruits and nuts when they refer to trees. But there's other protein-based items off the tree. So yes, a vegan diet, which I am mainly vegan, is going to require that you drop in 2 or 3 year old trees immediately. And it's going to require that you have to do annuals immediately. And I'm against doing annuals. And David kind of explained it, but I'll add a little bit more to that. You have to till the soil, then you plant, then you weed, then you chop down, then you harvest, then you have to chop down the rest of that and put it back in the soil. And then you have to do this all over again. And those guys work sun up to sundown. I'm not interested in doing that. And so therefore, perennials, I'm agreeing with what you guys have been saying in general.
So like, you have to go and revisit the same areas over and over and over, like cleaning up after people who have like smoked cigarettes and just left them on the sidewalk. Then you have to go and clean it up. Then you have to go and clean it up.
It's nonstop. Whereas compared to a perennial, let's assume that, if I walked over to Mark Shepard's food forest, what I'd be doing basically is doing some pruning. Now he does grow some annual owlies, but if it were done the way that I would want it, then I would also, all you would need to do is some pruning and then harvest, and some. You also need to do some fertilization,
Yeah, if I understood correctly, Mark's not into pruning at all.
He doesn't prune at all.
No, he completely. His system is called stun, sheer total utter neglect. That's how he chooses the best varieties to survive in the conditions. So what he does is he plants a shitload of seeds. Only the ones that take are selected, and then only the ones that are not eaten by rabbits or destroyed by apple blight or whatever. The ones that get to survive get to live on his farm. He's got the same method for his nut bushes and everything. So he just plants them and lets nature sort them out. The ones that survive and thrive without any there's no maintenance for his alleyways. He just leaves them and collects all the crop. So he's willing to accept like a 60% crop loss for pests and what have you, because he's gonna have like a 40% of the regular yield, but with zero inputs.
Yeah. So one of the things you're right about that. I shouldn't have used the the pruning example, because most people think of pruning as shaping the tree to grow extra fruit. That was a mistake on my part. What I should have said is, and apparently he doesn't even do this, but I would go through the property and clean up fallen branches, and use those for my rocket stove, If there's a
I
limb that's
think he
been
does.
broken by a storm, I cut that off so that the
Yeah.
tree doesn't get infected. So that's what I mean. I don't mean the normal behavior of pruners. So that was a mistake on my part to use that word. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dragon.
Thank you. So he uses the animals to prune. Now, on this topic, the one really important distinction is I love what you shared, Michael, or prefer Finbear, whichever.
Yeah, well, Michael feels like more like you're talking to a human. Like the Finbear thing is like what I troll with on YouTube. I don't like, yeah. Yeah, so that's, yeah. So usually everybody calls me Michael.
Okay, well, thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
I appreciate that share because, yeah, I love the stun method. I want to reiterate one thing, though, is part of what Mark does is he's also discovering new genetics.
And he is, yeah.
He is accepting high losses to discover new varieties that will do well for climate change. A lot of people don't know this, but the apple varieties, the lemon varieties that we have, those are actually hundreds of years old from a single tree that keep being grafted onto new trees or cloned in different ways. So, because a lot of the apples create crab apples, no good for eating.
Yeah, and it's the same with a lot of the vineyards have, like their vines are so closely related that they're sort of really susceptible to all kinds of diseases.
Right,
just because of the lack of variety.
So,
yeah, but whether climate changes or not, it's always good to give nature the chance to bring out new varieties, and like I wouldn't mind finding an apple that has a different flavor to Golden Delicious, because I've had plenty, and I could do with a bit of change.
Northern Lofthouse also does this.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing to be aware of that I think people sometimes forget about is, and having that diversity is really important so that you don't end up with a pandemic or an outbreak. Anything. So by having that variety mix is really good. And the other thing is you're both correct with the wood aspect. He leaves some wood behind because he uses that for growing mushrooms and helping to build the mycelium in the soil, but also collects some of it for fuel. So
I think he's not abandoning his land ever. So it's always like impacted with the animals at least. So I don't think he has these plots of land that, except for the absolute shoreline, if there's like a riverbank or something, you probably want to keep the last 2 meters clear so that animals don't trample and sort of break the riverbanks and cause like too much erosion. But other than that, he keeps the herds tight and in between the alleyways. So there's trees on both sides of the animals getting like wind protection. And you guys probably know all of this already. You were talking about, I was listening earlier, you were talking about sustainable farming, which I didn't hear quite everything that you said, but to me, it's like being sustainable is like quite a bigger failure. Like we could do a lot better than just be sustainable. We could be regenerating the land and sort of leaving it better than what it was when we found it. That's sort of like I've been looking into, because the things that I would like to do, which every day that passes, it's starting to look more and more like what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get like really poorly managed land or something. Like we have it's probably same everywhere, that like you got these big construction companies and they need huge amounts of sand and gravel and stuff. So you have these areas that like happen to be really sandy, like a sandy ridge or something, and the entire ridge is that the sand is dug out and sold, and the landowner is stuck with the land and part of his permit to get the permission to take out the sand is that after his operation is done, he's responsible for reforesting the entire area and bringing it back to as close to the original condition as possible. Of course, there's a ridge missing, so there's like something missing there, but still, like in terms of like planting trees and stuff, it's a pretty big expense. So if somebody's willing to buy land off of them and take on sort of the responsibility of the reforesting or regreening of the area, you get it for like pennies on the dollar. So like a hectare of land is something like 70 euros. That's 100 meters squared. So about like 100 yards times 100 yards for $70. 70 euros. So that's like, I don't know, 90, 100 bucks. But you'd have to get a lot. And the stuff better be green and fast, because you're going to be paying like a bit of a fine if it doesn't start working. Did you have something to say, or were you just trying to put the volume or something on because you had your finger up like this? And I was like, I better wrap it up. He's got something to say.
No.
But, I'll explain to the viewers so they can see what we're doing. I like to use hand signals so we don't speak over each other. So Empty was using a hand signal.
Ah, I see. All right.
So
see, I was talking. I can't talk and read at the same time. That's like.
So moving forward, and viewers, you
I'm
can use this also. So we don't speak over each other. We'll go when somebody's talking. Well, one finger to talk next. It's not to cut you off. Just be patient. 2, if somebody else has a finger up. 3, that kind of thing. So Empty was being patient.
Yeah.
So
that's very cool.
Thank you for doing that.
No worries. I noticed that the little chat signal will pop up, and if you can see the chat, you can see if somebody's added something to the chat. And I just checked it.
Yeah.
I noticed that he was using the hand signals, and I was like, okay, maybe I can use the pauses. But it makes more sense. It makes more sense to use the fingers, because everybody can see the finger, and you can't always anticipate a pause. There's one thing I would like to say before we come to an end, because we're getting close. I like the fact that Hex Dragon pointed out that we need to have some kind of sustainability on the land before the community arrives. And so, and this implies that there's other orders that have to occur. So I really like Tom Brown Jr.'s idea, not an idea, but the things that he's been taught, that which is there's the sacred 4 that must come in this order, and that's shelter first, water, fire, and then food. So if you select the shelter in the wilderness, you need to make sure that it's within 50 yards of water. So shelter and water are almost hand in hand. And so the reason I bring this up is because, Hex Dragon made the segue, which is you need some kind of sustainability on the land already before you start moving in a lot of people. So, and even if you move in 1 or 2 people, I believe that you need to do it in that order. You need to make sure you have shelter and water. Then you need to make sure your energy needs or fire is taken care of. And then, of course, then you can start to address food that's coming off the property instead of out of your wallet. So that's all I wanted to add.
I like that a lot. I think that perspective is from when you step on to living on the land. And what's cool with, and what I want to share is what's cool with permaculture and stuff is that if you create a food forest, it takes years to mature. So you might have a piece of land that you're not living on yet. You can plant that food forest, you can get that other stuff going in. The food forest also helps produce your wood, helps to retain water, those kinds of things. So what I'm looking for is large parcels of land to install these systems years before people even start moving there. And then probably like year 2, or maybe even year 1, somebody might live there and it starts producing more food. And as trees, they produce exponentially more food as time goes on. So you can have more and more people come on, more resources to work with, all that. But maybe year 0 is the year you're planting and you're not living there.
In response to that, it is a good idea to like do all the heavy work. If you're going to do any type of swaling, you're going to do any type of water redirection, you're going to do any type of wind redirection, absolutely. Once that's complete and you do start to do a planting, yes, you could just plant and walk away, but it will evolve much more quickly if you have 1 to 3 people on the land. And I use 1 to 3 because the task that you can do with 1 to 3 people, more than one person, 2 people or 3 people, is it's not just twice the amount of one person. It's not just 3 times the amount of person. It starts to grow beyond that because you, as one person, you might have to leave the land as a gopher to go get something. You might be doing some tedious task that will take 3 or 4 hours. And while you're doing that 3 or 4 hours, somebody can already prep the next stage. So I agree that you could approach this issue by not even living on the land. I'm suggesting that this would take much longer. So I'm going to turn off. My phone has just done something odd, so I'm going to stop talking until I can figure out what's going on here. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe if you switch your camera off and back on again. It looks like it is switched to horizontal. Yeah, better.
I appreciate Finbear coming on and meeting him face to face here. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool to be here. Yeah, I've wanted to come like every time I've seen the links, but the timing is like, I know you took me into consideration, so I felt like I'm being very rude not taking a part in this. But yeah, this is like nice. This is coming to like 9 o'clock in the evening over here, so this is a really good time. All the neighbors' kids and friends of my kids are out the house and things are quieting down a bit, so yeah, perfect time.
So I'll use this as an opportunity to tell everyone we are Hex Foodies on Telegram and Facebook and YouTube, and we are doing live streams at noon Central on Tuesdays. Everyone's welcome to join the chat on Telegram and to be a part of our community and join the live stream.
Cool.
Yeah,
so
thank you for.
Do you think we should have like something if somebody has like one certain topic that they'd want to just throw out there, like regarding permaculture and stuff like that? I was thinking like in something like how a composting worm farm works, or how you would go about building one, and what does it look like, and stuff like that.
So I was thinking that the whole like figuring out ideas and how we stack those ideas would happen inside of the Telegram chat.
Yeah.
And then that would be sort of like a place where we could do that sort of like governance of like where this group is going. And then we can come together once a week here on the live stream and actually like have our face-to-face and our updates and things. Yeah,
that sounds cool.
I think it would also be beneficial to kind of create a library. And actually, we have started this. So thank you very much, David. Having a library of these different resources and maybe having special topics. I think that's a brilliant idea, Finbear.
We could probably go somewhere on like using library where we would be just booted off YouTube. You know, some of the topics might get a bit touchy. Look at all of you go like.
So I'm interested in us creating a homepage, maybe like, I don't want to say the web domain name in case somebody wants to snipe it from us, but us having like a place that's just a bunch of links and a bunch of information to help people with like to highlight the topics that we have, because I think what's going to happen is each of us are going to have our own character and want to focus on certain topics, not necessarily like as a group, but like help each other really get down to the basis of our topic, you know, like each other helping edit each other's content. And so I'm not opposed to like I'm already paying for so many domains and so many websites, the grid server. I'm already paying server space, so I'm not opposed to doing that sort of thing. But doing live streams on that platform, I don't know, because like I think a lot of us have experienced where it's like the social media places are the place to be.
Yeah.
So we've got about 6 minutes left if we are to keep ourselves within this hour limit. Would anybody like to continue?
I didn't actually, like, I completely missed the beginning parts of what it is that you guys were talking about. So
we were just bringing examples of sustainability, like highlighting where we've seen it in the world, and then.
Oh, I've got a great guy I can introduce everybody to.
I've got a joke though, and then you came in and you squashed the sustainability idea and made it a regeneration idea.
Yeah, well, it's like it's easier than just sustainability, because that requires like spreading of all kinds of organic fertilizers and stuff. When you're regenerating, you don't spread anything. You just let everything grow. But you need maybe a bit more cows and a couple of more sheep and chickens to trample all that stuff to the ground. But that's how you build soil. That's how you make it better. But there's this British guy who lives in Sweden who has a farm over there. I think it's like the 65th, 64th longitude, is it? It's fairly high up there. It's not like Arctic, but still it's got like 2 months of completely frost-free summer. And he manages to run the most profitable farm in the whole of Europe. His name is Richard Perkins, Perkins. You might want to look him up. He's written a book. It's got the foreword written by what's the guy's name? He wrote the book Everything I Want to Do Is Illegal. You guys know he wrote the foreword to the book. Anyways, a well-known guy in the space, and he had one of those crowdfunding things for the book, and I think he got something like 1.7 million crowns or something, so like almost 200 grand funding for the book, and it's massive. It has everything that you could ask for, like building instructions and all the like different tables on how many chickens you can run on this many square meters and how much feed they need and how much they find from just digging the grass, and like he's got everything you need in terms of like tables, and if you need to crunch the numbers, he's got everything down to like per chicken, how much you need per chicken, and it all ramps up to how big you want to run it. It's like, yeah, he pumps out like millionaires in the making, and the guys just run a farm, and everybody goes from being an intern in his farm into running a hugely successful business, and most of them don't even own the land they work in. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Blaine.
Or Mr. Empty. I really love your that title. That's awesome clickbait. That's awesome advertising. Everything I want to do is illegal. It's like,
Yeah.
oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
But hey, would you send? Would you be so kind as to put that in the chat so I can? I heard you spell it, but I'm a visual reader, so if you could like
It's like
put the author
sure.
and then again, I mean the title, I'm not going to forget. You know, I mean, that's an awesome title.
That's not his book's title is regenerative agriculture. The foreword was written by the guy who wrote the book. Everything I Want to Do Is Illegal,
Okay.
which is about farming as well. He goes off against people like the FDA and those guys. Hey, we got a subscriber. Awesome.
Yeah, really quick addition. I think I know who you're talking about. I heard an interview with him.
Joel Salatin. Sorry, it was like a long line I had. Joel Salatin was his name.
Yeah. Okay, him. I thought that was the guy from America.
Yeah.
Oh, you were saying
The guy who wrote the foreword was Joel Salatin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's excellent. Check him out if you don't know who he is. He's another really great resource.
Yeah.
And a Texan like Dragon and I.
Is he
Texan? If that helps.
I think so.
Like, more power
He's not.
to you guys.
I'm thinking he isn't.
I think he's from West Virginia.
Yes, I think he's from Virginia or West Virginia. That's my opinion. But
My
hey,
bad.
you guys, I should probably get off. I thank you very much, Davin, for setting us up. Good.
Yeah,
Michael.
we're coming up to the hour. Do we need to keep it under 1 hour to avoid any penalties from the AI?
Real fast. Okay. Adios, Empty Plane. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for updating your mic this time.
No, it's my headphones.
Well, I appreciate it.
Nice meeting you, man.
Nice to meet you too, Michael.
Yeah, I'll speak to you later. Bye.
Bye now.
I still have Hex Dragon large because I'd like for him to recap what it is that he's been doing this weekend and maybe inform us of what we can do in the future to join his program.
Sure. So what I did this weekend is part of what I think why I'm hopeful for the future. It doesn't have so I'll just tell you what I did. It was a Tantra 1 workshop, which is kind of like the fundamentals of all yogic practices. The reason I'm excited for this
group. Did you say Tantra?
Tantra, yes. With a group I'm part of called Ecstatic Hearts. And we do these workshops in Austin, Texas. They're so fun. It's a personal development workshop. And at the end of it, you feel like you're part of an amazing community. You're inspired for the future. You're inspired for yourself. You take action. It's a really great foundation for everyone. So like, I would love to have Hexicans join this. So we actually have a workshop coming up called Sexual Empowerment. So you can go to ecstatichearts.com, click on live events, and sign up for Sexual Empowerment. There's an early bird special right now. I guarantee you this will be one of the most fun weekends you have. You'll heal your sexual trauma. You will learn to ask what you want. You'll learn how to manifest like crazy. It really is magical. I don't want to make any promises beyond that, except that I'll be there. You can meet me in person. This will be a life-changing experience for most people, unless you're already on this path. Then it will just enhance and you'll feel really connected. So,
when is it?
It is October. Whoops, typing all wrong. So ecstatichearts.com and live events. It is October 15th through 17th.
Cool. Nice. Awesome. Thank you for sharing
I might be willing to host some Hexicans.
I probably won't be able to make it, but you can send me pictures.
Right. It is a little harder to get to right now. I'm sure that we'll have more restrictions by October. So foreigners will have more of a challenging time. But if you're in the US, it's just so fun. Like, I hope to contribute these kinds of workshops to our future Hexican meetups and stuff, because the other aspect I want to bring aside from regeneration is personal development. I've done this one for 6 years now, and it's everyone's favorite. It's just ridiculous how fun it can be, how much better your love life can get, how you can start getting everything you want, and actually seeking rejection. Like, I'll ask somebody or whatever, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, no, I need like a hell yes. Otherwise, I'm a no. And when you start seeking hell yeses from people, you just have so much more fun because it makes people really want to do it. And I won't give away any more, but on live stream, I'll talk to you guys a little bit more maybe on private.
All right, cool.
But it is
Cool.
pretty fun.
Cool. Yeah, we didn't talk about what it was that you did this weekend, and so like right when you started explaining that, it's all new to me, just to let people know. Okay, well, we've reached we're about 1 minute past an hour. Once again, this is the Hex Foodies group. You can find us on Telegram, Facebook, YouTube. There in Telegram, we just offer up everything. So come join us, please. Thank you guys so much for joining. And
Thanks
it's
for
great.
having me.
It's great again to have you for the first time.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks, guys. Next time I'll try to be on time so that I don't walk in like in the middle of the conversation. I've done it to the Australians already once. I came in with my Apple talk. They were talking about something completely else, like completely different. Anyways, yeah, good talking to you guys. I'm gonna hop off and let you wrap it up.
Hey, it's wrapped up. I'll see you guys later.
Okay, bye.
Bye now.